Should start at 4:30. I know. That's what I'm trying to see it. Oh, yeah. And it'll really be me and a Piyush Shatzna. That's going to be... All right, Jabosai, good morning. Let's begin. A lot to do today. Today's daf is Tzadik Zayin 97. 97. We are picking up Tzadik Vav Mabez 96b. So let's actually pick up 3, 6, 8 lines up from the bottom. So remember again, we actually did some of this already, but we'll start it again. So remember again, we're discussing the halachas of the shulchan, specifically the idea that the shulchan is mekabel tumah. So the Gemara says, why is the shulchan mekabel tumah? So essentially what the Gemara established was, it's a kli eitz, a wooden utensil, that is used stationarily, that's not a word, but stationarily, and is also moved. Where is it moved? We saw the example that during the regalim, the kohanim would lift up the table, bring it out to the people, which, by the way, I will say, there's a lot to say about that, because this whole notion of taking a utensil that normally resides inside of the Kodesh and bringing it out is also generates a very interesting discussion. But whatever, not our topic for now. And they would bring it out to show the Ole Regalim, see how much Chadash Baruch Hu loves you, because the bread remains fresh. Good, the bread remains fresh. So the Gemara says, so from here you see that it's a wooden utensil that's movable, and therefore again it's makabel tumah. So the Gemara says, I don't understand. But say there's another reason why the shulchan should become tummy, which is why? Because it has a metallic covering. Remember again, the shulchan is made of wood, as a shittim, but it is covered in gold. The fact that it's covered in gold, does that not make it into a metal utensil? If it's a metal utensil, then what? Then halacha l'maisa should be makabel tumah. Milo tanan, did we not learn? Did we not learn? So Rashi says over here, mishum tzipui tahavi matechas v'lo iskish l'sak afilu asoy l'naches makabel tumah. So we'll say, it's actually, again, I don't want to get too mired into this, but although it is very interesting, which is, remember the whole notion that a kli has to be like a sack, in order to be makabel tumah, only applies to non-metallic utensils. Remember again, the comparison to a sack was just as a sack is movable and can be moved empty and full, so to any utensil which is movable, can be moved empty and full, is makabel tumah. But once it comes into the category of a metallic utensil, then by definition it's just makabel tumah because it's metal. So there says the Gemara, let's sidestep the whole previous discussion and just say the shulchan is makabel tumah because it's covered in gold. To which the Gemara says, Milo Tanah, did we not learn? Hashulchan va'adulbaki, if you have a table and you have a chair, shenifchesu, and I will say you cut off part of it, or you went ahead and you covered it in marble. Now both say, remember, shayish, marble is stone. Stone is not mekabel tumah. So I covered now my utensil in stone, in a material that is not mekabel tumah. But what did I do? V'shir bo makom hanachos kosos tmeyin. And I will say, what happens? But I leave some part of the utensil uncovered. In other words, I leave some part of the utensil not covered in stone, so wood. So we'll say, so now I take the wooden utensil, I cover it in stone, but I leave some part of it uncovered. How much uncovered? So the Gemara says, makam hanachas kosos, enough to place my cups down on the utensil. What's the halacha? Tmein. We'll say the halacha is that they are tamei. We'll say, why are they tamei? Because apparently, if there's enough wood left uncovered to be able to hold cups, then that's what? That gives the designation of what? Of a wooden utensil. And if it's a wooden utensil, that's mekabel tumah. Rabbi Huda argues on a detail. Rabbi Huda Omer, makom hanachas chatichos, shear in, lo shear lo. So we'll say, Rabbi Huda argues. He says, no. It's not just enough to leave a place to place the cups, but you need a place to put down your meat and your bread. Right? Who just wants cups? Right? You need a place for meat and bread also. If you leave enough of the table uncovered to leave your meat and your bread there, the table retains its identity as a wooden utensil, is makabel tumah. So the Gemara says, v'chitema. So we'll say, what do you see from here? Now we'll say, for our purposes, by the way, what you see, the important detail for us is what? And what happens if you would have covered this entire utensil in stone? What would be the halacha? It would not be makabel tumah. So we'll say, so this is, by the way, very important. So it tells you that what? That when you have a utensil that is coated or plated with some type of covering, the identity of the utensil is judged by what? Judged by the covering. So therefore, again, I will say, using this for our purposes, if I have a shulchan that's made of wood and it's covered in gold, it's going to be treated as a golden utensil, which then means that what? It is mekabel tuma. So says the Gemara. Says the Gemara, v'chi tema kan b'tzipoy omeid kan b'tzipoy she'ina omeid. So maybe you'll say, says the Gemara, that what? When do we go after the covering of a utensil? That's only when the covering is affixed in place. Rashi says, with like nails. Rashi says, v'chi tema hadal zlinan basar tzipoy b'tzipoy omeid kavua b'mismoros. So both say, maybe you'll say that the only time that we go after the covering of a utensil is when the covering is actively affixed to the utensil with like nails. But if the covering just sits on top of the utensil, then maybe again we do not define the utensil by its covering. And both say in the case of the shulchan, remember again, the golden plating was not nailed into the shulchan. It kind of was just an overlay on the shulchan. So says the Gemara, Lakish already asked this from Rabbi Yochanan, B'tzipoy omeid, or B'tzipoy she'ena omeid. If you're dealing with the covering Rabbosai, now omeid ultimately again means that it's affixed in place, like with a nail, or she'ena omeid means it just sits there. B'shechifa es levazvizin, top of tzadik zayin, or b'shalochipa es levazvizin. Or Rabbosai, what about a case? We have a utensil that has, let's say, a gold covering or a metallic covering, but the metallic covering does not extend over the sides. Right, so it covers the surface, but doesn't extend over the sides. Right, v'amarle, and he responded, lo shnat sipui omed v'lo shnat sipui she'ina omed. Lo shna chipas levazazin v'lo shna lo chipas levazazin. And also he responded that it makes absolutely no difference whether the covering ultimately again is affixed in nails or just fixed by nails or just sits there, or whether the covering extends over the side of the kli or not, is irrelevant. We'll say the halacha is that when you have a utensil covered by some type of metallic covering, the identity of the utensil becomes a metal utensil. So we'll say, so again, for our purposes, therefore what? Halacha l'maisa, if you have a shulchan that is made ultimately, that is covered in some type of metallic covering, then halacha l'maisa, again, it should become a metal utensil, and therefore halacha l'maisa should be mekabel tuma. Good kasha. The chitema, this is really fascinating. So you'll say, oh, this is different. What is the shulchan made of? Acacia wood. Acacia wood is chashiv. It's chashiv. So therefore, maybe Rabbi will say, in that kind of case, the halacha is that the wood is not bottle to the gold covering. Maybe that's it. And therefore, again, even though it's covered in gold, it still has the identity ultimately as what? As a wooden utensil. To which the Gemara says, "Hani chalei Reish Lakish to Amar lo shanu ella." So let's listen to this. This makes sense correct to Reish Lakish, who says, "The lo shanu ella bikli ach sulgus haba'im medinas hayam aval kli mesamis chashivi velo batli shaber." So we'll say there is this position of Reish Lakish that Reish Lakish holds that halacha l'maisa certain types of wood ultimately are batal, other types of wood are not batal. So he says, Kli as lugus, habam medinas hayam, if it's coated with metal, so the metal becomes a dominant feature. This kli misam, so it's just different types of wood. This kli misamis, which apparently was a more expensive wood, even if you cover it in metal, ultimately it still has the identity of a wooden utensil. El Rabbi Yochanan do Amar, kli misamis nami batli ma'ikal neimar. But I will say, according to Rabbi Yochanan, who says, no, it doesn't matter what kind of wood it is. If you coat wood, ultimately again, if you coat wood with metal, right, specifically with gold, halacha l'maisa, the identity of the utensil becomes one of a metallic utensil. And then we'll say again, remember, we're just trying to figure out the status of the shulchan. So I don't understand, meaning according to Rabbi Yochanan, all types of wood will become bottled to a gold plating. So if that's the case, again, why doesn't the shulchan just simply become tamid as a result of being a metal utensil? Shiny shulchan, the shulchan is different. Why? The Rachmana karya eitz. Because we're supposed to say the Torah itself calls it wood. Shene Emar, Hamizbeach eitz, shalosh amos gavoa, arko shtayim amos, umiktsaos lo, va'arko v'kiros of eitz, vayidaber elai, zeh hashulchan asher lifnei Hashem. So we'll say this from the pasuk in Yecheskel, and again, we don't have to go through the rest of the pasuk. The point is the end of the pasuk. I will say is that it calls it eitz. And then what does the pasuk say? Zeh shulchan asher lifnei Hashem. It's calling ultimately, it's speaking about the shulchan. Even though we're going to discuss why it says mizbeach and shulchan, it says the shulchan. So you see from the pasuk that the Navi refers to the shulchan ultimately again as eitz, as wood. So therefore, I will say the Gemara answers something very interesting over here. So we're going to get to a beautiful drush in just a moment. I will say, but the interesting part, see, here's the good news. What's the good news? Everyone agrees that the Shulchan is Mekabel Tumah, right? The Shaila is why. So essentially, the Gemara wanted to say the simplest reason should be that it's a metal utensil. That's the simplest reason. I don't understand why we're not talking about that. So I'll say, so working backwards a little bit, to which the Gemara says, that's because the Navi refers to ultimately the Shulchan as eitz, refers to it as wood. So apparently that's the dominant identity of the Shulchan as being a utensil of wood. Oh, if it's a utensil of wood, then what? Then the only way it is Makabel Tumah Rabosai is how? Is if it's a utensil that is not meant to remain stationary, but is moved. So in that case, we understand why the Shulchan is Makabel Tumah. Why? Because the Shulchan was moved. When was the Shulchan moved? When the Kohanim went to pick it up to show it to the Oli Regalim to say Ruchi Basam Lefnei HaMakom. Good. So we'll say, so bottom line, we're looking at the Shulchan, excuse me, as a wooden utensil that is movable and therefore Makabel Tumah. So we'll say to which the Gemara says something so beautiful now. Pasach b'mizbeach v'siyim b'shulchan. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. This pasuk in Yecheskel, which presumably is talking about the Shulchan, yet it begins talking about the Mizbeach and it ends talking about the Shulchan. What's the pshat? Listen to how beautiful this is. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Lazar Dami Tarbai. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Lazar both say, "Bizman shebeis hamikdash kayim mizbeach mechaper al adam." They both say when the Beis Hamikdash stands, so a person's mizbeach, a person's altar, has the ability to atone for him. Va'achshav she'in Beis Hamikdash kayim. They both say now, unfortunately, again, where there is no Beis Hamikdash, so ultimately again, shulchano shel adam mechaper. A person's table atones for him. What does it mean? A person's table atones for him? Rashi says, first short line in Rashi, on top, Shulchan shel adam mechaper alav, the no saying prusa la'archim. Both say hachnasas archim. Hachnasas archim. This is actually such a beautiful idea that ultimately, again, when the Beis Hamikdash stood, so the Mizbeach is what achieves kapara for us. In the absence of the Beis Hamikdash, your table through hachnasas archim goes ahead and atones for Klal Yisrael. I will say, if you think about it, there's actually a very beautiful. What's the commonality between the Mizbeach and the Shulchan? So we'll say, if you think about the truth is there's much Torah on this, but if you think about this, just on a very basic level, the Shulchan, the Mizbeach, was the great equalizer of Klal Yisrael, right? In other words, although there are certain karbanos that depend on your monetary status, the majority of karbanos, I will say, were the same for everyone. So the Mizbeach is the great equalizer of Klal Yisrael. What happens when you have people around your table? We know when you bring people around your table, we'll say, what are you doing? It's also the great equalizer of Klal Yisrael. So the Mizbeach was the Koach HaMa'achid. The Mizbeach was something that brought Klal Yisrael together. You have people around your table that also has the ability to bring even very, very different people together. Beautiful, beautiful Gemara. Good. Weiter. Arba Snifin Shal Zav HaYusham. So we'll say back to the details of the Shulchan. There were 4 golden supports. Remember again, I will say these were we'll call it the side supports on the Shulchan, the things that kept the racks kind of in place. So 4 golden supports. Minahanimili. So it says, where do we know this from? Amrav Katina Makra. Va'asisa ka'arosav v'kaposav v'kasosav u'minakiosav. So we'll say here, the passage talks about the following. You shall make your ka'arosav, kaposav, kisosav, u'minakiosav. What are these items? So it says the Gemara ka'arosav. So the ka'aros elu defusim. We'll say that refers to the molds in which the breads, lechem apanim, were made. Kaposav. What are the kaposav? Ella bazichin. We'll say this refers to the spoons of frankincense. Kisosav. What does that refer to? Elu snifin. We'll say that refers to the gold support posts or support support panels on the side of the shulchan. Umenakiosav. We'll say what are menakiosav? Elu kanim. Rabbi say this ultimately refers to the rods in between. This is great, by the way, because how long have we been learning these psukim in Chumash, and we never have any idea what it's all referring to. So now again, the Gemara tells us it refers to the molds, it refers ultimately to the spoons of frankincense, it refers to the golden support posts, and ultimately again the rods. Asher yusach bahen. The Rabbi say literally again that you will anoint with them. What does that mean? Shemesachech in bahen es halechem. Ultimately again that you will go ahead. So we'll say this on, if we look at Rashi. Rashi says, "Shemesachachin ebahem es halechem, shal halechem mesachachin akanim bein tchala lechaverta." Literally, again, you place one loaf on top of the rods that are supported by the loaf underneath. Mosiv Rava lo sider as akanim v'lo netilas and dochos as Shabbos. We'll say now Rava raises a kasha. What does the Mishnah tell me? the Mishnah told me that the arrangement of the rods, both the removal of the rods and the replacement of the rods, is not doches Shabbos. So amai ein dochos es Shabbos. So the Gemara says, I'm sorry, v'isaka daitcha d'oraisa amai ein dochos es Shabbos. So what's the Gemara? It's a good kasha. If you're telling me ultimately that what? That Menachos refers to the rods. That means that what? That midoraisa, you need to have the rods by the lechem aponim. So we'll say, if that's the case, then what? Anything that is doraisa should what? Should be docha Shabbos. If that's the case, then on Shabbos morning, when we're taking the last week's loaves off of the shulchan, I should be able to remove the rods, take the loaves off, and then what? When I go ahead and put the new loaves on, replace the rods in between the loaves. Yet the Mishnah tells me I can't do it, but if it's doraisa, I should be able to do it. So Rava says the truth is, it's actually not a kasha. The Amri, this is not klal Rabbi Akiva, because I will say the truth is the Mishnah itself stated the answer to this problem. What did Rabbi Akiva say? Kol malacha she'efshar la la'asos me'erev Shabbos eina doches haShabbos. So we'll say, again, this is actually very interesting, because Rabbi Akiva apparently holds, even if something is biblically permitted in the Beis HaMikdash on Shabbos, if you can do it before Shabbos with the same exact results, then halacha l'maisa, there's no need to do it on Shabbos. So we'll say, Rabbi Akiva's argument, it doesn't as much seem to be a halachic argument, because it sounds like if something's daraisa, there is a license to do it in the Beis HaMikdash on Shabbos, but it's more a logical argument, right? That halacha l'maisa, if there are things which can be done before Shabbos, even if you have a license to do it on Shabbos, ultimately, again, I will say, by the way, this is true. I mentioned that. I think I mentioned this yesterday. That this concept is very important by Ochel Nefesh as well. By Ochel Nefesh, I will say on Yom Tiv, the halacha is that although you're permitted to cook on Yom Tiv, anything which can be done before Yom Tiv with the same qualitative results should be done before Yom Tiv. And one can make the logical argument, I will say, that in general, things which can be done before Yom Tiv, even if technically it's permitted to do it on Yom Tiv, should be done before Yom Tiv, right? The logic being because that leads to a greater enhancement of the Kedusha, the holiness, and the enjoyment of Yom Tiv. So Rabbi Akiva says, the rods can be removed. So if they can be removed, then why play with it on Shabbos? So the Gemara says, 1 second. So the Gemara says, 1 second. Let's analyze this. Taimamai. Why do we have the rods there in the first place? Deloli apish lechem. Ultimately, again, because we don't want the bread to spoil. We don't want spoilage. So we'll say, so again, how do we avoid spoilage? By putting the rods there. The rods allow for what? For airflow. Airflow hopefully prevents spoilage. So the Gemara says, lo ma'apish. So the Gemara says, the truth is, so I'm going to say, but 1 second, if you leave it there without rods, it's going to spoil. To which the Gemara says, Rabbi Akiva says, for that relatively short amount of time, that there's, the loaves are sitting on the shulchan for a week, for the couple of hours, that the loaves will be rodless, so ultimately, again, there's not going to be any significant spoilage. Kedesanya, Ketzad, to which the Gemara says, we saw. So how does this work? Nichnas me'erev Shabbos v'shamtan, u'manichan ar koshal shulchan. Erev Shabbos, the kohen walks into the Beis HaMikdash, and he removes the rods from between the loaves. U'matzei Shabbos nichnas, and u'manichan ar koshal shulchan, and he places them along the length of the shulchan. Matzei Shabbos nichnas. So we'll say now again. Remember the part that's not written here, but it's understood. Come Shabbos morning, they take off the old loaves, go ahead and give it to the departing shift of Kohanim, replace it with new loaves. Then what happens? Matzei Shabbos nichnas umagbia rasha shel chala umachnis kana tachtel v'chozer umagbia rasha shel chala umachnis kana tachtel. And I will say then what happens? And then Matzei Shabbos the kohen comes in and he places the rods in between the loaves. So we'll say, so what it's saying is for last week's loaves, the little bit amount of time sitting overnight on Shabbos night without the rods is not going to impact it. And for the new loaves, sitting a couple of hours on Shabbos until the Kohen gets their Matzei Shabbos to replace the rods is also not going to negatively impact the chalas. Good. So arba'a chalos richo shlosha kanim. So this is actually very interesting. Now remember again, there are 2 stacks of 6 loaves each. So the Gemara says over here, the quote-unquote 4 middle loaves. The 4 middle loaves of each stack require 3 rods each. Hal Yonah, Eina tzricha el shnayim, lefi she'in aleha masui. But said the upper loaf only has to have 2 rods under it. Why? Because the upper loaf has nothing weighing down on it. Hatachtona Eino tzricha kol iker. The bottom loaf actually does not need any rods at all. Why? The fi shamunachas al taharo shel shulchan. Because we'll say the bottom loaf is fully supported ultimately again by the shulchan itself. Good. Tanan Hassam. So what we learned there? But so now we're going to get into an interesting technical discussion about tfachim and amas. Tanan Hassam. Rabbi Meir Omer kol amos shei b'mikdash beinonios. Rabbi Meir says, we'll say every amma used inside of the Beis Hamikdash was what we call an amma beinonis. So again, we'll discuss. If you look at Rashi for just a moment, Rashi says bebeinonis, bebeinonios. It's right across from Tosos, low C there. Bebeinonios shal shisha tfachim. So we'll say, interesting enough, an amma beinoni. Excuse me. An amma beinoni is an amma made up of 6 tfachim. Why is it called an amma beinoni, Rabosai? Because there are some who measure amas at 5 tfachim, others who measure amas at 7 tfachim, and therefore the 6 tefach amma is called the amma beinoni, the middle of the road amma. So it says the Gemara. So Rabbi Meir holds, Kol amos shei b'mikdash beinonios. All the amos used in the Beis Hamikdash were amos beinonios, chutz mizbeach hazav, with the exception of the golden mizbeach, v'hakeren, the horns of the mizbeach, v'hasobev, the ledge of the mizbeach, v'hayisod, and the base of the mizbeach. Those were measured differently. So Rashi points out over here that those amos are measured with 5 tefach amos. So we'll say this is Shitas Rabbi Meir. All amos in the Beis Hamikdash were 6 tefach amos, with the exception of the amos used in the measurement of the horns, of the mizbeach hazav, the horns, the ledge, and the base of the mizbeach. Rabbi Huda says, amos binyan shisha tefachim. Rabbi Huda says any amma used in construction was always an amma of 6 tefachim. V'shal kelim chamisha. So also Rabbi Huda draws a different line. He says any amma used in construction was an amma of 6 tefachim, and for kelim 5 tefachim. Rabbi Yochanan says u'shnei mikra echad darshu. Both of them darshan in the same pasuk. What's the pasuk about? It's quoting a pasuk from Yecheskel. Ve'ila midas hamizbeach ba'amos. Ve'ila midas hamizbeach ba'amos. Ba'amos amma v'tofach. V'cheika amma v'amarochav. I was turning the page. V'cheika amma v'amarochav u'gvula al svasa saviv zeres ha'echad v'zeh gav hamizbeach. So Moshe says, the Gemara now breaks apart each part of this pasuk, referring to a different part of the Beis Hamikdash. So here we go. Cheka Amma. So we'll say, what's the Cheka Amma? Ze Yisod. This refers ultimately again to the base of the Mizrach. Once again, remember from our earlier days in Menachos. So we saw, and in Zvachim, we saw the way the base, and we're going to, actually the Gemara is going to talk about this explicitly, but the way ultimately, again, the Mizbeach itself was shaped is that you have what's called a Yisod, which is a base. The way it works is the Mizbeach begins wide, goes up, comes in, goes up, comes in. So that indentation in, that's going to be called the Sovev. That Sovev is called the ledge. So the Yisod is the bottom base, and then the Sovev ultimately, again, is the internal ledge. Oh, good. So maybe we're going to take a picture. You could take a picture and you can post that. Good. So says the Gemara. So Cheka Amma Ze Yisod. Thank you. Amma Rochav. We'll say, what's the Amma Rochav? Ze Sovev. This refers ultimately again to the ledge. Ugvula el Svasa Saviv Zeres Ha'echad Elu Kronos. And I will say this last phrase, Ugvula el Svasa Saviv Zeres Ha'echad, right? And the boundary around it, which was a Zeres, which we'll discuss that measurement, that refers to the horns, which was, remember again, there were 4 horns, 4 corners of the Mizbeach. That refers to the Kronos. Zeh Gava Mizbeach, so also when it says this is the top of the Mizbeach, what is it referring to? Zeh Mizbeach Hazar. We'll say this is referring to the golden Mizbeach. Rabbi Meir says, Zehu ba'ama bas chamisha. So Rabbi Meir holds that ultimately, again, this is referring to an amma of 5 tefachim. Ha kol amas ba'ama bas sheish. Yet all other amos, we'll say, well, what? All other amos will be using an amma ultimately of what? Thank you, Rashi, of 6 tefachim. Rabbi Huda says, Kazeh yihiyu. Ultimately, again, that Kazeh yihiyu means the Mizbeach HaZahav. Kol amos, ultimately, again, should be 5 tefachim. So the Gemara says, Kelim sakadaitcha, I'm sorry, Kelim sakadaitcha mi yisod va'at sovev ba'ama ba'asei begova. Ultimately, as says the Gemara, I would have thought that from the Yesod until the Sovev, we're dealing with an Amma, ultimately again, of 5 Tfachim when dealing with the height of the Amma. Umay, Cheka Amma va'Amma rochav. So we'll say, what's the meaning of the phrase when it says, Cheka Amma? So again, I will say, all we're doing is taking this pasuk from Yecheskel, trying to dissect it and read it back, both Rabbi Huda and Rabbi Meir, who obviously differ in their Amma measurements. Are we dealing with an Amma? So both say, understand that there are multiple machloksim over here. Number one, is an Amma 5 Tfachim or 6 Tfachim? To which the answer is, it depends which Amma you're referring to, right? Apparently, again, different Amos in the Beis HaMikdash were used in different measurements. So we're just trying to break that up. So the Gemara says, "Umay cheka Amma va'Amma rochav." What is the meaning of that phrase, cheka Amma and Amma rochav? Hachikar, this is what it means to say. Mi cheka Amma va'ad rochav. Rabbi said, from the chek ha'Amma until the rochav, right? Ultimately, what is that? That is ba'ama bas chamisha. Anything between those two areas was measured with an amma that is made up of 5 tfachim. Gova hamizbeach kama. We will say how high. What was the height of the mizbeach? Esser amas. The height of the mizbeach. We'll say this is not, by the way, the outer mizbeach, right? The animal sacrifice mizbeach. This, right? The height of that mizbeach was 10 amos. Shis b'nei chamisha. 6 of those amos were made up of, now this is fascinating, of amos of 5 tfachim, va'arboy b'nei shisa. So we'll say, get ready for this. The Gemara now is positing that the 10 amma height of the mizbeach was made up of amos of differing sizes. 6 of those amos were chamisha, were 5 tefach amos. 4 of those amos were 6 tefach amos. So we'll say, you're going to see why we have to do this in just a moment. Mizbeach kamahavi. We'll say, what was the total height of the mizbeach? Chamshin va'arba. Ultimately, again, 54 tfachim. 54 tfachim was the total height of the mizbeach. Palgi the mizbeach kamahavi. We'll say, what's half of the height of the mizbeach? Esrim v'shiva. 27 tfachim. Mikronos va'ad sovev kamahavi. We'll say, from the height of the kronos, of the horns, ultimately, again, until the sovev. So we'll say the sovev is like the band that wraps around. So the Gemara says, Kamahavi, how much is that? Esrim va'arba. That would be another 24 amos. Kama b'tzir, the palgidim mizbeach. So we'll say, so what's there for the height differential between the top of the mizbeach to the middle of the mizbeach? Or how much height is left? So the Gemara says, tlasa. Ultimately, again, 3 tfachim. Utnan, and we learned, chut shel sikra, chogro be'emtza. We'll say there was a red line that went across the middle of the mizbeach. Kadei lahavdil bein damim alyonim ledamim hatachtonim. In order to go ahead, we learned this before a lot in Zvachim, in order to distinguish between bloods that had to be applied above the red line and below the red line. Elahad disanya, but according to that, but based on that which we learned, Gabe Ola Sof. When it comes to Ola Sof, so what's the halach with Ola Sof? Haya Ola Bekeves. So we'll say, remember again, this is now this first wide line. Haya Ola Bekeves. So we'll say if the coin went up on the ramp, Ufana L'Sovev, and he turns towards the Sovev. Uvalo the Karen Diramis Mizrachis, and he comes to the southeastern corner. Umolek es Rosh Mimul Orpa, and he goes ahead. Remember again, they're both saying Ola Sa'of. How do you do it with Malika? See, he slaughters the animal with his thumbnail. Umavdil, and he separates the head from the body. Umotze es Dama al Kerem Mizbeach, and he goes ahead and he sprinkles the blood on the side of the Mizbeach. Now watch this. Vim asa lamata miraglav afilu ama kshera. And I will say now, interestingly enough, so remember, where is this happening? This is happening on top of the Mizbeach. Where is the blood supposed to be sprinkled? On the side of the Mizbeach. Now, here's what's interesting. So the Brisa says, and if he does it, even, and if he sprinkles it even an amma below where he's standing, the blood application is kosher. So the Gemara says, 1 second, if it's an amma below where he's standing, then here's the problem. Ultimately, I will say, if that's the case, then if he's placing it an amma beneath where he's standing, I will say that places the blood where? Below the red line. What's the halacha? The blood of Ola Sa'of has to be placed above the red line. Ella cheka amma knisa. Rather, says the Gemara, the phrase cheka amma actually refers to the indentations of the mizbeach. Amarochav, We'll say, what does Amarocha refer to? Knisa, another indentation of the Mizbeach. We'll say this goes back, I'm sure you can see it on the picture that was sent out, but this goes back to the idea that the way the Mizbeach was structured was the base begins wide, and then it goes up, goes in. Another area that goes up straight and then goes in. Gvula el Sfasa Saviv. Again, Abbas, when it says Gvula el Sfasa Saviv, that refers to another indentation. So, what you begin to see are 3 indentations along the height of the Mizbeach. Mizbeach Kamahava. We'll say, what was the height of the Mizbeach? Shisin, it was 60 tfachim tall. So the Gemara says, Shisin, Palgi the Mizbeach Kamahava. We'll say, so therefore, what's half of the height of the Mizbeach? Tlasin. Ultimately, again, 30 tfachim. Mikronos va'at sovev kamahaviv. Rabbi said from the horns to the sovev, how much was there? Chaf dalid, 24 tfachim. Kama batzir the palgi the mizbeach. How much height was left till he got to the middle of the mizbeach? So shisha, 6 tfachim. Utnan. Now let's go back to Olas Ha'of. Ima salamat meirag lavafilu ama achos kshera. Just remember again, going back to the Olas Ha'of case. The Kohen is slaughtering the Olas Ha'of where? Where is he slaughtering the Olas Ha'of? Where? On the top of the Mizbeach. Where does the blood have to be applied? On the wall of the Mizbeach. What Abba said about the halacha is, it has to be applied where? Above the Chota Sikra, above the red line. Now let's go back. So what does it say? If the Kohen takes the blood and he applies it, so he's standing on top. He's bending down, he's applying the blood ultimately again on the wall of the Mizbeach. And what did the Mishnah say? Even if he went ahead and he applied it an amma beneath where he's standing, it's good. So let's analyze this. So we'll say, what area are we talking about over here? Biknisa, by one of the indentations. Umi matzis mukmis la biknisa. We'll say, can you actually go ahead and establish this as by one of the indentations? Of Hatanan we learned. Mizbeach hayashloshim mushtayim ashloshim mushtayim. The Mizbeach was I measured 32 by 32. So now I'll say that is the measurement of the base, the bottom base, which was the widest part of the Mizbeach. Allah Amma, so we'll say, so what happens? It was 32 Amas by 32 Amas. Then what happens? Allah Amma, there's an Amma of height, Vikanas Amma. And then Rabbi will say, what happens? The Mizbeach ultimately again comes in. There's an indentation. Is indentation the right word? Yeah. So it begins wide, it comes in, right? And then goes in an Amma. The kanasama recessed, right? Good. It's recessed even more. So it goes up an amma, then it's recessed an amma. So zehu yisod. They both say that first indentation, first part where it goes in, the first recessed area. That's right. That's called. What was it? Revealed. Okay, good. I'm just going to read the Aramaic. You guys can do that. Right? So it says the Gemara, right? So it says the Gemara, Zeh Yisod. Then ultimately, again, that's called the Yisod. Nimtza Shloshim HaShloshim. Therefore, we'll say the area of the Mizbeach at that point in time is 30 by 30. Ushnei Tfachim Havu. So it's 30 by 30 and 2 Tfachim. V'su Allah Chamesh. Then I will say again, there's another 5 amas in height, right? And then what happens? V'kanas Amma. And then again, it enters in another Amma. Zeu Sovei. Rabbi says it's also called the Sovei. Nimtza esrim ushmona. Nimtza esrim ushmona. So therefore, we'll say ultimately again, it turns out that is an area of 28 by 28. So the Gemara says esrim ushmona va'arba tfachim avi. So we'll say in reality again, it was actually 28 by 28 plus a little. Plus 4 tfachim. V'chitema kevan de lo havi amilo kevan de lo havi amalo chashiv le. Maybe you'll say, well, one second, you know what? The truth is, we don't really take the 4 tfachim into account. Why, Rabosai? Because 4 tfachim is not even an amma. Meaning, at a certain point in time, we round off the measurements. To which the Gemara says that's not true. I'll tell you why. Kranos amma mizeh va'amma mizeh. Nimtza esrim v'shesha esrim v'shesh. So we'll say, I'm sorry. The Gemara says yes. So we don't really take into account that 4 tfachim area. Why? Because ultimately, again, it's less than an amma. So if Rabbi say, watch this. Kranos amma mizeh va'amma mizeh. So let's remember again the kranos, which are the horns on the top of the mizbeach, were 1 amma by 1 amma. Therefore, nimtza esrim v'shesh al esrim v'shesh. Therefore, Rabbi say, it turns out that the actual top of the mizbeach, was ultimately 26 by 26. Okay, so we'll say twitch the Gemara said 1 second. It's actually more. Esrim b'sheva, but we'll say it's actually 27 by 27 based on the math. To which the Gemara says lo dak. The truth is, it's not precise, and I'll tell you why. Makom hiluch raglei kohanim amma mizeh va'ama mizeh. So which is interesting to note is as follows. Remember again, when you get to the top of the Mizbeach, so we're trying to calculate out usable area. When you look at usable area, we'll say, so first of course, you have the area of the kronos, the area of the horns. So we'll say that entire area doesn't become usable. Or it's the area between the horns, essentially is considered to be unusable as well. Take also into account that there was a 1 amma width area that was considered to be the space for the Kohanim to walk around. When you back all of this out of the calculation, so we'll say, how much are you left with for the open area of the top of the Mizbeach? Nimtza esrim va'arba al esrim va'arba makom ha'ma'aracha. Ultimately, again, we'll say, makom ha'ma'aracha, which was the area of the fire on top of the Mizbeach. That was 24 by 24. Which says, I don't understand. Esrim v'chamishavi, but still, it should be 25 by 25, not 24 by 24. V'chitei ma'achinami lodak. So maybe you'll say, you're right. 24, 25. You know, we don't need to be so precise. To which the words of Ha'ksiv, but the pasuk says, "Va'ariel shtayim shtemesrei orech b'shtemesrei rochav ravua." Rabbi say, but the pasuk explicitly says that what the Ariel, which refers to the makom of the Aish, ultimately again was 12 by 12 squared. Yocho she'eno el shtemesrei al shtemesrei. I might have thought maybe it literally is just 12 by 12. Kishu Omer El Arba Riva'av. By the four, literally by the four squares. Malamed Shebe'emtsohu Moded Shtemesrei Amma L'cho Ruach V'Ruach. Ultimately, it tells me that from the middle, you have to be able to go ahead and measure out 12 ammas in every direction. V'chitema Shismineo Meikara Ba'ama Bas Chamisha Maisilu. Maybe you'll tell me again, I'll say that what? That of the 32 ammas of the Mizbeach, ultimately, again, Shisminayu, 6 of them are measured out with an amma that is only 5 tfachim, not an amma of 6 tfachim. Imkain Rav Chale Azara. We'll say if that's the case, the problem is, if you start doing that, the entire dimensions of the Azara are thrown off. Disnan. Kol Azara Haya Orech Mea Ushmonim V'Sheva. This is actually very interesting. The entire length of the Azara was 100, Mea Shmonim V'Sheva, 187 amos long. That's the length of the entire Beis Hamikdash, 187. I understand the Azara, excuse me. So Orech Haya Mea Ushmonim V'Sheva Al Rochav Mea Ushloshim V'Chamesh. With the width of what Rabbi say, a width of 135. Mizrach leMa'arav Mea Shloshim V'Sheva. So we'll say so the entire width, the entire length of the Beis Hamikdash was 187 amos. That's the length of the Beis Hamikdash. Watch this. Makom Dris as Raglei Yisrael Achat Asrei Amma. So we'll say so the area where Yisraelim generally walked, that was a width ultimately again of 11 amos. That was a width of 11 amos. Umakom Dris as Raglei Kohanim Achat Asrei Amma. Then we'll say right next to that. So we'll say this was a strip. Another picture. Good. So we'll say right. So that was another. So therefore, one strip of 11 amos. That's the area ultimately again for the Yisraelim. The strip right next to Shabbos was the strip right next to the Mizbeach. Ultimately again, that was a strip for Kohanim. Achadesrei Amma HaMizbeach. So we'll say sorry. Regular Kohanim Achadesrei Amma HaMizbeach Shloshim Ushtayim. The Mizbeach itself, as we just said, was what? Occupied a strip of 32 amos wide. So we'll say what we're doing is we're taking the entire length of the Beis Hamikdash and we're cutting it up. We're slicing it up. So first 11 amos, that's where Yisraelim went. Second 11 amos, that's ultimately where Kohanim went. Next 32 amos, that was where the Mizbeach was. We'll say just one more line and we'll stop. So Shloshim Mushtayim Bein Ulam LeMizbeach Esim Mushtayim Amma. Between the Ulam, Rabbi say, and the Mizbeach, so really between the Mizbeach and the Ulam, which is the entranceway to what we'll call the Kodesh, that was Esim Mushtayim, another 22 amos. Ha-Heichal Mea Amma. The Heichal itself was 100 amos long. So Achat Esrei Amma Chori Beis HaKapores. Ultimately, again, and behind the Beis Hamikdash, Rabbi say, was what? So there was 11 amos of space behind the actual Kodesh, behind the actual. I mean, we call it behind the Kapores. In other words, the area Rabbi say of the Kodesh HaKodashim was the back end of the Ulam. There are 11 amos of space behind there. Ella Cheka Oma. So we'll say, all right, we'll have to stop over here. So we'll pick up in Meretz Hashem, last line on Tzadik Zainam days. So we'll say, as we'll see ultimately again, depending on how these measurements only work if you use amos ultimately again of 6 tfachim. But if you're going to start substituting amos of 5 tfachim, it's going to throw off all of the measurements. All right, we'll